I'm Khaled al Huraimel. I am the Group CEO of BIA, and I have been with the group from the start for the last 15 years, and I'm happy to be here in the Voices of the Future.
Thank you very much indeed. We've got Khaled here as the Group CEO of BIA. What a company, what a beautiful, stunningly beautiful environment at the group headquarters here, designed by Zaha Hadid, but designed with love. When I come here, I see architecture, I see design, I see something which is futuristic. And then when we go under the hood and we just start looking at the quality of the work that they're doing and looking at a very unsexy business of garbage, theoretically, and converting that into a modern, futuristic, transformational business, which is fundamentally changing the game. And it is on the outskirts of Sharjah, in the middle of nowhere. But what they're doing is making this into the epicenter of a circular economy, of something that can really be celebrated in the future. Khaled, wonderful to have you. It's a real privilege. Thank you very much indeed.
Happy to be here.
Khaled, as I said, I mean, what an edifice, what a beautiful environment. And until very recently, for me also, it was an extremely well-kept secret. We just didn't know enough about it. How are you celebrating the beauty and the elegance of this place? How is the world seeing this?
Well, we opened our headquarters about 2 years ago. This building is one of the last buildings that the late Zaha Hadid designed herself.
Right.
And the building represents the group. It represents our DNA. We are a company about the future. We are a company about sustainability. And this building is one of the smartest buildings in the region, and also one of the most sustainable buildings in the region. But we also strong believers in culture and art. So putting all this together, and this is where the building had to reflect who we are and our vision of the future. And this building is being called Office of the Future also. It's one of the first buildings, if not the first building in the region to be fully AI integrated. And we have worked on this project years ago, before ChatGPT. And we've developed hundreds of AI use cases of how an Office of the Future will operate.
Right. Interestingly enough, I'm talking about the future of work in 2 days' time at a summit. And I dare say I will take some inspiration from here. But Khaled, before we go into the future and drill deep, let's do it in typical Hollywood, Bollywood style and do a little flashback. Tell us about little Khaled. Was he naughty? Was he going around looking for things? Was he, a student? Were you an artist? And who inspired you when you were a kid?
I lived a privileged childhood. My father was a diplomat, was a UAE ambassador from the time the UAE was formed.
Okay.
So him being an ambassador to a country that has just been formed, having to go set up an embassy from scratch.
Yes.
So since the day I was born, I've myself and my mother and my brothers and sisters, we have been with my father for, though he was an ambassador for 35 years. So all my childhood, I spent it in different countries. And I think that helped shape who I am. And I believe having a global mindset and being a global citizen. And so I've lived in different countries and have close friends from all over the world from a young age. So I think that definitely played a big role, my father. At the same time, the leadership of the country in the UAE and the foresight of our leadership is made the UAE a pioneer in many areas. And again, also being raised as a son of a diplomat and seeing the progress of the country and leading in many different sectors. So that also helped, I would say, build is possible.
Indeed. I interviewed a very smart young gentleman he's younger than you. His father was a diplomat also from Oman. So when I asked him, his name is Faris, and I sort of said, tell me about your youth. And he said, I was a diplo brat. So what's a diplo brat? A diplomatic brat. I was a young person who was going in different places and learning from different countries. So perhaps you were a diplo brat.
I won't say that, but yes. Yes, definitely I think living in different countries helped shape, because even at a young age, we felt that we represent the country.
Yeah.
And a young country. So people, many people at that time, in the early 80s, had no clue where UAE was.
Yeah.
And the countries that we were. So that was definitely that. Even at a young age, I felt the responsibility that I'm representing my country.
Indeed.
So I have to be a role model for that country.
Amazing.
So
I actually spoke to 150 ambassadors about 4 years ago in Abu Dhabi, and all of the ambassadors had come together, and the deputy foreign minister invited me there to talk to them about the future, to talk to ambassadors about the future and when they go to new countries, because we can understand soft power. Because as a small nation, that's what we can do extremely well. And the nation has done very well in terms of soft power. But also how societies are changing, how the whole environment is changing, and how technology changes everything. And I remember these ambassadors looking at me like, this guy is from a different planet. And we had a lot of interesting conversations with the diplomatic corps around that whole group. At least 20, 30 of the ambassadors took me aside and said, what about this, and what about Brazil, and what about that, and what about that? Bringing that to today into some of your experiences, the world is fundamentally changing. Do you think our diplomatic services, not just here, but globally, understand the technological changes and which are driving societal changes, which are driving human changes? In other words, there's a lot of shift going on. Do we actually get it?
I think definitely there is a global shift happening. But I would also say here in the UAE, we have also progressed a lot. And the UAE has positioned itself very strongly globally in different ways. So I think the UAE's always had the foresight, and the UAE is a partner with everyone. And the UAE is always looking at what's best for all. And that's reflected in how our country is diverse. And we have people from all over the world,
Indeed.
From all cultures, all religions, living peacefully. So that's the example. So we've been able to do that successfully. So this is where I believe our understanding is very strong. And our leadership in the global scene today is respected a lot.
Indeed, and this is a very delicate balance which the UAE has actually managed exceptionally well, and it's literally it's art and science put together, and it's just beautifully balanced, and that's why I've chosen this as home. I mean, I have a home in the UK, but I choose to live here, and happily. So looking forward and moving into your business life, what was your qualification? And did your qualification match what you ended up doing?
I studied actually my bachelor's degree in Saudi. At the time, my father was the UAE ambassador in Saudi. So I studied with I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Marketing. Then I did my master's in Business Administration from University of Bradford in the UK. And I started my career at ENOC, Emirates National Oil Company in Dubai. And at that time, I also started in a new business unit that they were just setting up from scratch, which is their international business. So coming from a background, living in different countries, with my educational background, it did match. When I started that department, we started selling products in one country. And that first country we started selling at that time was Yemen. And I would travel many times. We were selling automotive oils.
Right.
And so creating a brand from scratch, branding it, finding distributors, going to puncture shops, understanding more about our competitors. So I spent my first 7 years in my career with Enoch, where we grew by the time I left into 21 countries. By the time I had left, we had set up operation in Southeast Asia, mostly in the Middle East also.
Okay.
So that's where I started, yeah.
And also you did the executive program at Harvard Business School, and that's where we are alum also.
Correct,
so that's another tick in the box that you have done. I work closely with Enoch. Dr. Wada, who's on the head of sustainability and stuff there, he's a dear friend, and we do things together. But Enoch, and this is a combustible oil company, oil and gas, and so on. From there, the transition into where you are today, again, from a privileged background, from living in embassies, you lived a very, very comfortable life. How did you get into garbage?
Before moving on to Bia, I actually joined Nakheel.
Okay.
In 2005, I had the opportunity, I was approached to join Nakheel. And at that time, Nakheel had just sold their properties in the Palm Jumeirah. And they wanted to start a new project called Dubai Waterfront. And they wanted to have someone head that project. Dubai Waterfront was basically the last beachfront of Dubai, from Jebel Ali to Abu Dhabi border.
Okay.
And I saw that as an opportunity. The real estate market was just picking up, just starting. And I spent 2 years there, where we designed that project, we sold that project. And then after that is when I was approached by, at that time, the chairman of Bia. While here in Sharjah, waste management, like in many countries, waste management is usually handled by the public sector and was handled by the municipality. And at that time, they were struggling to improve the service. And like many countries, they go through privatization. And Sharjah at that time decided not to go full private, but to do it through a public-private partnership. And the ex-chairman of Bia, or the chairman of Bia at that time, was also the chairman of Sharjah municipality. So he approached me if I would be interested to start. And I saw the opportunity. I get excited from starting businesses from scratch. So I did that at Enoch. I did that at Nakheel. And I saw the potential of where the importance of climate change and addressing the challenges at the global scale, and starting in Sharjah, where I'm from. And this is why I joined the company at the time.
So that is very visionary, because 15 years ago, talking about sustainability was a nice to do. Today, obviously, is an integral part of our conversation. And waste management as an industry, as I mentioned, it's not a sexy business. However, you had the vision to see beyond that. What you have today, were you even the glimpses of it, and did you see that 10, 15 years ago, or this has been an evolving new shape?
Both, I would say both.
Okay.
Yeah. When we first started and operating in 2009, we started with a small waste collection contract in the Emirate of Sharjah. So we did not have all of Sharjah at the start. We had a small contract. And but we did have a vision from the start to be a leader in the sector. And we also had the vision that how can we reach zero waste? So when BIA was established at that time, was to tackle all environmental challenges, not just waste. But we addressed waste because that was an immediate problem. Here in our region, we generate the highest waste per capita.
Yeah.
So we said, let's focus on that first. And over the years, we started moving quite fast, where we took over the years all of Sharjah, expanded across the UAE, till we became the largest waste management company in the UAE, as well as achieving the highest diversion rate of waste away from landfill in the Middle East. Today, we divert 90% of waste in Sharjah away from landfill, which is the highest in the Middle East. Only 10% goes to landfill. And that was done over 15 years, where we built the infrastructure. We built 12 different plants. And the last being the first waste-to-energy plant in the Middle East, which we inaugurated over a year ago, and took us to the 90%. And now we're still going towards the zero waste to landfill. But in this journey, we could foresee that soon we will be reaching zero waste. And soon we will be one of the largest players, if not the largest player in the UAE. How do we continue expanding? Because we're also a private company. We have shareholders who expect a return, expect growth. And this is where I started looking at how could we continue the growth? I could foresee in a few years, we'll be almost at zero waste. We'd have covered with a market share. We are now today the largest market shareholder in the UAE in waste management. And I thought that we could grow in two ways. One is geographic expansion. One is to diversify. And we decided to do both.
Sure.
So geographic expansion, we entered Saudi, we entered Egypt, the two key large markets. In Saudi, we entered Medina, holy city of Medina, and we're very proud to have, when we're privileged to be servicing that city. And in Egypt, the new capital, the new admin capital. So very key, very strategic projects that helped us position BIA Group regionally and also in those countries, that having won those two projects.
Yeah.
And part of our success over the years to become a strong player in waste management, we are a company that always embraces technology to do things faster and better. This was always from the start.
Indeed.
And this is what led, when we looked at diversification, I looked at, okay, we're very good at this. How can I commercialize this more? And this is where we started to diversify, and we built technology companies.
Sure.
We have now 3 technology companies. Evotech, which today has a partnership with the Ministry of Health and Prevention, where we do track and trace of all medicine in the country. We've done digital transformation projects for different government entities. We also then launched Relive, which is an online marketplace to trade recyclable commodities. It's now the largest in the region. We have offices now in India and Saudi, more offices opening in the region, an only 2-year-old company.
Right.
We're now building a data center.
Yes.
The first tier 3 data center in the Emirate of Sharjah. That gets us into the infrastructure of smart cities. So we invested in technology. We also invested in transport. As an organization in waste management, we operate a fleet of over 2,000 vehicles. So with our mandate, looking at how we can lower greenhouse gas emissions, we had to address that in the waste management. One of the main contributors in the waste sector is landfill. So we address that towards zero waste. The other is the transport fleet. So now we've been working over the years to how we can make our fleet greener, more optimized. We set up a company called ION to do sustainable transport solutions. It's operating across the UAE. We also recently been awarded in Sharjah to build the EV charging infrastructure. We've run autonomous pods in Masdar City. We've done ride-hailing platforms that are operating today only for electric cars. So we've diversified, and more of our diversification for the future is in healthcare and real estate.
Understood, sir. I think this is fascinating, and I do speak a lot on sustainability and climate change, and specifically, and then when I'm sitting in a board room like this, talking to various boards, I talk about it a lot. 2 things I'd like to check with you. One of the statements I make is that we need to make green the new digital. 10 years ago, digital was just a department in IT. Today is all around us. Today, green is a CSR initiative, a sustainability initiative, or a net zero initiative. But it isn't a part of every decision we make. So we need to make green as an integral part of every single decision that we make. And the second one is even more important, and that is to make sustainability more profitable in the dirty business. And until that happens, it's a nice to do. It's a little initiative that we do on the side. And I sit on boards, and I do that, and everybody likes it, but there's a huge amount of resistance. That immune system of a board clicks in. Oh, well, we are not in this business, and how can we do that? And what about our shareholders, et cetera, et cetera. How do you overcome that resistance? Because what you are doing when you talk about diversification, that's challenging the norm. That's challenging status quo. How do you do that?
So to answer the first question on the sustainability, I think here in the UAE, we're very lucky. Here the leadership is being driving the sustainability agenda, not just here in the UAE, regionally and globally. So having that support from the top plays a big difference. And we had COP28 last year. It was the year of sustainability last year, which has been extended to this year also. So it shows the importance for the UAE for its sustainability goals and agenda. But at the same time, I've seen a big shift from private sector and public sector for them to put sustainability much higher on their agenda. And not because they've been told, but because they believe in it. So I've seen that shift in the last 10 years. So, and I think that's not just in the UAE. I see it happening in Saudi, in the region, in Egypt. So definitely the world is really, and I think also COVID, to some degree, also accelerated that.
Yeah.
So not just people going for more aggressive in meeting their sustainability goals, but also for digitalization, which are, when I first started, the two key pillars of what we do at BIA, sustainability and digitalization. And we believe today, to achieve your sustainability goals, you need to do it by embracing technology.
Indeed. So one of the key things I've been working a lot with is circular economy, and how we need to understand that circular economy, and how every single company needs to be integrated into their strategy. So the question that I ask some of these senior leaders is that procurement, they have a job to get rid of old equipment and so on, and they'll come in and throw it in Sharjah and the fills and things like that. So they can either sell it for $1 million dirhams, or go to a proper environment, to BR, to EnviroServe, to this, that, and the other, and actually process it properly, but only make $500,000 dirhams. So until the board says, I'm prepared to take that 500,000 dirham hit because I'm doing the right thing and it's sustainable and so on, up until that time, the procurement guy has the wrong incentive. What do we need to do to change every single board's perception that I think this is an investment for the future, and this is a must-do?
So I think, first of all, previously, people and companies did not see waste as a possible resource and value. Even when we first started BIA, that was the case. Today, people are recognizing companies of the value they can extract from waste and how they can process and recycle. And a big industry is being set up here in our region. And we've also, over the years, become very good at that, of extracting value out of the waste supply chain, of segregating different types of waste, working with partners to recycle. And that's part of success of BIA through these collaborations and partnerships. But also, we saw that we need to make this more accessible. And this is where we have set up Relife. So Relife, brings generators of waste, so sellers and buyers together, eliminates middleman, and opens that market. So if you as an organization are generating a certain type of waste that you want to extract value from, you have a transparent marketplace now to do that. So the market has changed, and people recognize the value, and we want to facilitate that and make it easy for companies to achieve that value.
Right. Khaled, this is Voices of the Future, and you are a beautiful voice of the future, and some of the things I'm already hearing are amazing. Part of what we're doing is to amplify. Individually, your voice is big. Collectively, it's huge and massive. And then when we make it global, this will be part of a global platform. Let's talk about the future. Are you optimistic about the future?
I'm very optimistic.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
What is the message that you give to young people, to children? I was at COP28 at one of the events, and one of the top people from Amazon, Dr. Steer, took a globe and gave that globe as a gesture to a 13-year-old kid and saying, we are handing a globe to you, and then now you are going to be looking after it. And I pushed back Dr. Steer and I said, what are you doing here, Dr. Steer? Because you're handing a burning planet to a young kid. So what have we, us oldies, done to the planet, and how do we shift that? So what are those fundamental shifts that you make? I know you're doing it as a company, and you're doing it as a philosophy. But in terms of broader policy, in terms of broader shift amongst business leaders and our thinking, what do we need to do to shift that? Because we can't leave our children with a burning planet. We want to leave them with a clean planet and help them over the next 10 years when their 13-year-old is a 23-year-old, has a good, clean planet, at least to have a half a chance.
Yeah. So I think, if I reflect on what we've done as a group, I think one important point is you have to be patient. You have to play the long game, and you cannot do everything yourself. So collaborating, looking at partners, what is the best way to achieve that target? And not to give up, always to find ways around. There's always a way out of any challenge.
Sure.
But not to give up and be patient.
Yeah.
Sometimes people and companies are in a rush. But I think being patient, sticking to your values, and just keep going towards the direction. Of course, you'll have lots of challenges, but during that journey, if you see partners that can help you, take them with you on board. Let them join you. Don't think everything is just yours.
Yep.
And I think this is what we've a lot of I believe our success in some of our projects is through collaborations and partnerships. Our waste to energy plant, I was saying that's the first waste to energy plant in the Middle East. That's a collaboration and a JV with Masdar. And we have other partnerships and collaborations with private sector and with government.
Sure.
And I think that's, again, partnership, being patient, playing the long game.
As a futurist myself, in my presentations, in my keynotes, one of my first slides I put up there and I said, what's going to define the future? And maybe I'll ask you, what is the one big thing in your one word, one concept, one idea that would help to define the future?
Well, I think, as BIA, we've been exploring how we can utilize AI for many years, for at least last 10 years.
Yeah.
One of the examples is our building. Even before construction started, we were looking how can we utilize AI, and this is again years before ChatGPT.
Sure.
And we worked with Johnson Control and Microsoft, developed hundreds of use cases. How we manage our fleet, we're already using cameras now in terms of monitoring roads, the cleanliness of roads, is the bill collected or collected or not. Even in our facilities that we segregate the waste, we've been using robotics with AI, machine learning, to know what's what as it segregates. So we and me personally, I've had a strong belief that AI will change a lot of how we live and how we work. And I think in the next few years, we will see an exponential rise of this usage. So we have to, maybe in the last 10, 15 years, it was more gradual, but I think there's going to be an exponential because the speed of the way computer power
Yeah.
We see this, so we want to be ready. We want to be ahead of the curve.
Indeed.
And this is what we've always and that's why we have been investing in digital. That's why we're building a data center. And that data center also, what's unique about that, probably one of the, if not the first data center powered by waste, because from a waste to energy plant, we generate 30 megawatts of power. That's enough to power 30,000 homes. Data centers consume a lot of power.
Indeed.
So then power will come from waste.
Yeah.
We're also building a solar farm, 120 megawatts of power. So we're looking at that too.
Okay. That's a super intelligent response. And I entirely agree with you. But I was seeking something a little more philosophical. And my philosophy is that the future is going to be defined by trust, by truth and ethics. And AI without ethics is a monster.
Yeah.
Generative AI without the proper guardrails and stuff like
For
that,
sure.
it can potentially be extremely dangerous. I actually sometimes even call it a weapon of mass destruction. And it's even more powerful than nuclear fission because it can grow by itself. It also takes me to the next level of, because a lot of people go exactly the direction that you have suggested into technology and utilization of AI and so on, which is absolutely right. There's nothing, no issue on that. But I think we need to look at some other elements. And it's my thesis, and please challenge it.
Okay.
Because in this digitized world, anything that we can be digitized will be, because it'll be a million times faster and a million times cheaper. But anything and everything that cannot be digitized, love, compassion, harmony, spirit, imagination, creativity, heart, soul, judgment, critical thinking, all of these things will be a million times more valuable. This is where humanity is going. How do we bring humanity back into your work where the technology is an enabler and is serving us, but humanity is what we lead with. And we build that trust and we go into the future with our heart and our spirit, as opposed to just AI.
Yeah, I agree with you. So that definitely, without people, you cannot get any of this done.
But how do we bring it back into our day-to-day lives?
So now, for us at BIA, we've been putting more and more effort to preparing future leaders. And if we're going to be growing the company by another 10x, it will be these future leaders that will do it.
Yeah.
So preparing them for the future.
Yeah.
And when we prepare them, we just don't prepare them only on usage of AI or technology. We also how to, our vision is pioneering sustainable quality of life. So to do that is not just technology. And when we get into, for example, track and trace of medicine, one of the main reasons we got into that business is to eliminate counterfeit. By eliminating counterfeit, you're saving lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now we're getting into healthcare. And when we're getting into healthcare, we're looking at how will healthcare of the future look like.
Yeah.
So we're investing also in healthcare. When we're investing in the environment, we're investing in cleaner environment, cleaner air.
Yeah.
So where people can live safely, people can live comfortably.
Yeah.
And so all of that at the end comes to humanity.
Indeed, it does.
So,
and I basically say you're wearing two lenses, and I love those two lenses. One of them is the lens of green and sustainability, which you are wearing, and the other one is to build trust. And because you are succeeding, in my view, is because you're establishing a brand of trust. People trust you, and people see what you are achieving. Yes, a lot of capability and performance, but they trust you. And then if you bring in a layer of ethics and values and humanity by medical science and stuff like that, people will not trust you anymore, but they will love you. And love is even a higher layer of vibration, is when people do things and connect with you through love, because we love this brand. I think it's amazing. And I think as long as every decision is being made through the lens of ethics, what we're doing, is it ethical? Is it helping people? What are we doing is, will people trust us more? I think this has an amazing, beautiful future for you. What is your advice to parents on a day-to-day basis? I dare say you're a parent yourself, where there's so much information coming in. Kids are learning differently, operating differently, and so on. And what do you think about the world of learning as we have it today? And I'm going to say young people, which is our kids, and then I will say at a senior executive board level.
It's continuous learning. Everything is evolving, everything is changing, adapting to that change. So it's a continuous process.
But I think our education system sucks globally.
So that's another point. I do also agree that education has to be done differently.
It's not preparing us for the future. Almost
possibly, yes. But I know a lot is happening on that to redefine how. And I believe the UAE will also lead in that effort, So
I hope so.
So I'm confident it will.
Okay.
So again, this is a process.
Yeah.
I think the UAE is evolved in many areas.
Yeah.
And if you see, we were the first of a Ministry of AI, Ministry of Youth, etc.
Yeah, yeah.
So and it keeps evolving. Whatever is the need to take the UAE to the next level.
Yeah.
And I think on education. It will happen, and so I'm quite confident that and believe that our leadership are taking us there.
Let me just throw a funny story, and then we'll start working towards an end. If you go to a Japanese school, particularly in Japan and even here, every school has a patch of land and a patch of soil, and every kid is supposed to learn how to grow rice, water, soil, patience, put the seed in there, wait for it to come out, and then they understand nature. That is how they understand nature, not through a book, but they have a piece of soil which they have to look after. Till the age of 8 or 9, they don't have homework, they don't have this, but they are learning with their hands in what is real, what is land, what is sustainability. In Finland, they're doing similar things. Maximum an hour of school, and the rest of it is play. I think these are some of the things that we need in the area of sustainability, that we all need to feel things. We all need to emotionalize sustainability rather than just rationalize it. And then we'll have a much more, a much brighter future for young people.
So like here, to give you other examples here in the UAE, we work with a lot of schools. And we created the BS School of Environment over 12 years ago. We've educated over 250,000 students over the years.
Yeah.
And I've seen a shift. So when I think about myself when I was in school versus when I see some of the kids today, here in the UAE, the young kids, very driven, very ambitious.
Indeed.
So this is why I believe the future for us is bright, and I'm optimistic. We've done hackathons for kids, and I've not seen that in our generation as driven as they are.
Yeah.
And I think partly because they were raised in a country where they saw us as number one.
Yeah.
They were born in a country where we already have the best airline in the world. We already have the tallest towers. We have a forward-thinking government that's very supportive.
Yeah. There's a lot of pride there.
So they were born into that.
Yeah.
Maybe when I was born at the earlier generation,
Yeah.
but they were born in a country where we're already sending probes to Mars, sending astronauts to the moon. So you can. It's a different generation coming up. The new generation will really take the UAE a leap forward.
Yeah. And my final set of questions, and that is that let's say that we get into a time capsule, and we project ourselves into the future. And today is your 100th birthday. You're only at half time, so you have a lot of time to live. And we're at your 100th birthday. What do you see around you? What are we celebrating? What are you celebrating? What's making you happy? How do you, when you visualize yourself and imagine yourself in 50 years' time?
I think we would be in a place where the air is clean. We've overcome all the environmental challenges, and we might be having coffee together in a resort on the moon. And I think technology would have made our life much more easier. So this is, if that answered your question.
Yes, it does. It does. And I think when I'm sitting here and I'm looking out, all the desert around you, in my view, should be green. We will, by that time, we should be able to not have a desert anymore. Why would we need to do that? And then it'll change the way we live, the way. I wrote an article on the 50th anniversary of the UAE, and I sort of said they wanted to take me. The article was about 2071, and I said I was in 2071, and I said everything has changed, but nothing has changed. We still sit around the fire and have a barbecue. We still have our family. We still have the whole thing. So we go back to basics while we have the technology to support us and to guide us. And that was my view, and I actually wrote the article for Gulf News. And my final question is that if there was a one-liner that you were to leave behind, let's say a message in a bottle for us, and you throw it in the ocean and we find it 5-10 years from now, what will that one-liner be? Something inspirational, something that people should remember.
Well, I would say be patient and optimistic.
Amazing. Khaled, it's been an absolute privilege talking to you.
Thank you, Tariq. Nice to meet you.
You too.
And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.